today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. On the heels of her successful title defense of the WBO lightweight title, world champion Terri Harper calls out Caroline Dubois. It's not going to end well. England's world lightweight champion Terri Harper cruised past the overmatched Natalie Zimmerman to defend her WBO title in front of a spirited hometown crowd in Doncaster. The 28-year-old dominated from the opening bell, picking her opponent apart without ever really threatening the stoppage. German Zimmerman, 42, became a sitting target and ended the fight badly bloodied because of a clash of heads at the Echo Power Stadium. All three judges scored it 99-91 as three-weight world champion Harper extended her record to 16 wins with 2 defeats and 2 losses. Afterwards, Doncaster's Harper called for a unification fight with fellow Briton and WBC champion Caroline Dubois. That gets my fire burning. I said it the other day in the press conference. She rubs me the wrong way, Harper said. Yeah, Caroline's been less than cordial, less than gracious towards Terri Harper. She's made it very clear why she wants her specifically. She doesn't have this energy for Beatriz Ferreira, and she's a champion too. So that when you spend that much time disparaging Terri and going after Terri, it shows your character. It shows what you're after. You're after the low-hanging fruit. Because if she's that bad, then why do you want to fight her? After years of jumping up and down in weight in search of big fights and accolades, Harper seems comfortable at lightweight and is confident of halting the hype of the unbeaten Dubois. Dubois, 26, has long been considered as the future of women's boxing and predicted she would make Harper crumble in a potential unification fight. That fight makes sense, Harper said, adding she will now take a short break before pursuing unification matches. If the Dubois bout does not materialize for any reason, Harper may also target the IBF champion Beatriz Ferreira or the WBA champion Stephanie Hahn. I want to go on to fight the other champions and really step it up, she said. Now, the Beatriz Ferreira fight wouldn't be any better for Terri Harper. She'd lose that one too, and it would likely pay less than the Dubois fight. That's the appeal of the Dubois fight, an all-British showdown that might draw a crowd, at least more so than a Ferreira fight. And a decent-sized purse. I imagine that if they really pursued the Dubois fight, it would happen on Boxer and Sky Sports and not Matchroom. I don't see Caroline crossing over. Terri would have to go to Caroline, and Ben Shalom would pay her handsomely to do it. That is, he would have to. I know of at least one other offer that had already gone out for Terri to cross over and fight Caroline, but the timing, I believe, was the issue, that Terri wouldn't have had time to have a full camp. Wouldn't matter if she did. I'm more a fan of Terri than I am of Caroline, but I'm also a realist. I think Caroline plows through her. I think Caroline stops her. What I saw yesterday in the Zimmerman fight is not conducive or encouraging towards beating Caroline. The performance was a bit flat and monotonous to me. And if she is now pursuing that fight with Caroline, I think it's because Terri's ready to call it a career. It doesn't say that in the article, and she didn't say that herself. She's only 28 years old, but she is a hardened 28 years old, with many miles in the odometer. Ups and downs, wins and losses. Not that many options now that she's at lightweight, the third division where she's become a world champion, that if she were to lose to Caroline Dubois, and I think she would, where would she go after that? What would she do? She's got to know this is a dangerous fight.
But she's willing to have it.
Yeah, likely because it pays better than a Ferreira fight. But if you go in there with Caroline, and she stops you, she knocks you out, what then? I could see it happening. I could see the fight taking place later on this year. And if it does, Caroline wins. It's as simple as that.
But the thing about Turkey is that he kept telling me that he wanted me to fight in June in Alcatraz. And I'm like...
We received a large amount of millions to fight Spain, and we denied.
In Alcatraz, the jail. Like, I'm not really trying to do that. The thing that I like about you already getting the bad energy in the fucking fight.
You ain't trying to go back.
A large amount of millions. To fight Spain, and we denied.
What's next now? Who do you have your sights set on, and what do you think is going to ultimately materialize?
So right now, we're thinking about either Colin Smith or Anthony Yard. Obviously, those are the two top two top guys in that division. More likely,
Callum Smith fought Canelo, correct?
yeah, he fought Canelo,
Right.
and then he fought when we were at the Better Beef card. He won a WBO interim title.
You have to stitch it all together to grasp how mismanaged David Benavidez' career is and how he himself is a party to that mismanagement, because at any point he can put his foot down and make an executive decision. He is the fighter, after all. He's the one that's got to do the actual fighting. So you're saying that now what you're waiting for is a Callum Smith fight,
Right.
which you were already offered, according to your promoter, for millions upon millions of dollars, so that now you may not even get him. Because now he may fight Anthony Yard, or he may do a homecoming fight in Liverpool against someone else. This is what Callum's promoter said, Eddie Hearn. You're not Callum's only option, and I don't even know if you're the most attractive option, the most lucrative one. What gets Callum more money? Anthony Yard in the UK or Saudi, or being the B-side to David Benavidez in Las Vegas? I never heard of nobody getting life-altering money from fighting David Benavidez, whether it's Caleb Plant or Demetrius Andrade or David Morrell. I never heard of nobody getting life-changing money to fight that guy. His pay-per-view numbers are nothing to write home about. So with those things in mind, you have to wonder what gets Callum more money, because whatever gets him more money, that's likely what he's going to go with. It just accents how mismanaged David's career is and how long that's been going on, because he could have and should have unified titles with Caleb Plant when they were both champions, but it was his promoter that decided to hold off on that, so that when you do finally fight that guy, neither of you are champions. And it didn't even sell that much. How long did it take you to finally put it together? What was it, 4, 5 years to do under 300,000 buys? And now this, you rejected a Callum Smith fight for millions upon millions of dollars so that you would end up waiting for him anyway, except now you might not get him. And if you don't, well, that's a fumble. They're cracking jokes, talking about how he doesn't want to fight at Alcatraz. Buddy, if this goes sideways, you may not fight at all, because the light heavyweight division is not teeming with options for an American-based fighter like David. I've said it many times. Most, if not all, of the real money in the light heavyweight division is international money, involving international fighters. You yourself, in Las Vegas, are not so big a draw, big a ticket seller, or big a box office star that you're the most lucrative option. Nobody ever got life-altering money to fight David Benavidez. Playing your hand this way, you got yourself a spiffy new email title, an email belt. But what is it worth without the dance partners? What is it worth without the challengers to defend it against? That if playing your hand this way costed you a Callum Smith fight, that was stupid. And the other caveat, while hardcores like me and you might see the value in a Benavidez versus Smith fight, it's a good fight. It is one of the better fights you can make in the light heavyweight division. I wouldn't call that a hot ticket. I wouldn't call that a big fight in Vegas or a big fight in America, because Americans aren't falling over themselves with adulation over Callum Smith. What they know about Callum is that he fought Canelo, and Canelo beat him. This isn't exactly Mayweather versus Hatton. Callum Smith does not have the following of a Ricky Hatton to where he's gonna flood Vegas with Brits there to urge him on. That Benavidez versus Smith is a good fight, but it's not a big one. And if you rejected Turki's offer to fight that same fighter over the location, what are you, a moron? It's not so big a fight in Vegas, and it's not so big a fight in America that you should be turning down millions upon millions of dollars, as you described it, to fight him here. You don't even know if you can bring him here. Mismanaged. There is the ineptitude of his handlers to address, but also his own ineptitude for not taking action. Are you comfortable with the direction that your career is going in? Are you really? We've seen in previous instances fighters assert themselves, like Stephen Fulton. He asserted he wanted the Inoue fight, and he got it. Errol Spence Jr. preferred to fight Terrence Crawford instead of Keith Thurman, so he did. They put their big boy pants on. When is David gonna do that? If he can actually get Callum in the ring, then great. It's all fun in the sun, tits and tan lines, if he can get him. But if he doesn't, there's mud in your eye. I don't pity David. He spent a long enough time at super middleweight that he should have had the run of the place long before Canelo's undisputed run even started. That by the time Canelo decided to go there, he should have been undisputed champion. Then he wouldn't have had much of a choice but to fight him. The way you guys played it, you brought no belt to the table. Nothing tangible to offer. And the predication that you're going to use public demand, public pressure to coerce him to fight you, well, how did that work out for you? How is it working out? Name-dropping Canelo in every podcast interview you do.
Did it get you the fight?
Apparently not. So that was another misstep. Another miscalculation. When I look at David Benavidez's career, all I see is a mismanaged fighter. And I don't think much of his boxing. I don't actually think he's all that good. But it doesn't help that he's mismanaged. Men's heavyweight news. Moses Itauma ices Mike Balogun in 2 rounds in Glasgow on the undercard of Taylor versus Essuman. Glasgow, Scotland. Moses Itauma said that he would make quick work of American Mike Balogun, and he did just that, dropping his opponent 3 times in 2 rounds. The southpaw rattled Balogun with an early left hand, and seconds later floored him for an 8 count with the same shot. It was a hard knockdown, and the American plummeted face first, but he returned to his feet to make it through the remainder of the round, with his corner urging him to box, Mike. Box!
Yeah, they don't make American heavyweights the same way they used to.
Early in the second, a sweeping right hook caused him to land flat on his back for another count. Balogun stood once more, but as he desperately lunged forwards, Itauma landed another right hook that seemed to lift the 41-year-old off his feet and dump him onto the mat, where the referee, John Latham, instantly waved it off. It was a violent knockout, the way Itauma set it up. As Mike was lunging forward to get the shot off, Moses took a half step back and fired the counter. He set it up beautifully. It was confirmed after 46 seconds into round 2. He is a tough cookie, said Itauma. I was catching him clean, even that second one. I turned round and he was trying to get up. Fair play to him. I knew that this was his big chance. I like to appreciate Mike Balogun for taking this opportunity because not a lot of people would. The Ben Davison-trained Itauma only turned 20 back in December, improving to a record of 12-0 with 10 KOs. There has been talk of putting Moses in the ring with Martin Bakole. To that, Martin Bakole said this.
Moses has got he's got beautiful future before him. I want him to build up his career like he did, but to pick Martin Bakole now, I think it's too early for him. I want him to work hard and maybe be a world champion tomorrow, but I don't want him to pick me now because he's making big mistake. He's playing with the fire. No, he's a man, but if you think he can handle me, I'm open to it.
Being honest with you, going from a 41-year-old journeyman and Mike Balogun to Martin Bakole seems a bit too much too soon to me. I think Moses has the talent and the ability to beat Martin Bakole, but there's not enough in it for him now that he should be rolling the dice at, 11-0, 12-0, 20 years old? Consider that Jared Anderson was older and further along in his career than Moses is now. When he fought Martin Bakole, he was 24 with 17 professional fights, and you see what happened to him. Now, I understand if you guys are telling yourselves that Moses has a higher ceiling than Jared Anderson, and maybe he does. But the fact of the matter is, Jared Anderson had at least faced a former champion before fighting Martin Bakole, whereas Moses has yet to do that. Moses has yet to fight the likes of a Charles Martin. I'm just saying, you gotta crawl before you walk, and you gotta walk before you run. Moses is looking fantastic, but he's looking fantastic with the likes of a Mike Balogun, so maybe you need to pump the brakes. In addition to that, Moses Itauma is now the WBO's #1 ranked heavyweight contender. WBO President Gustavo Olivieri has revealed Joseph Parker owns the WBO interim belt and so will be their next mandatory challenger for the winner of Usyk versus Dubois 2. And Moses Itauma is right behind him. I think it's a bit too soon for all of this. Only 20 years old with less than 15 professional bouts. I don't think he should be occupying the same space as some of these other heavyweights in spite of his talent level and what he's showing. You're talking about a kid whose best wins are Dempsey McKean and Mike Balogun. To then fight a Martin Bakole? Or to then potentially fight a Joseph Parker? Yeah, that's a bad idea. Now, I'm not proposing that you spoon-feed him journeyman for the next 2 or 3 years. I just think he needs a little bit more time on the domestic scene to fight the likes of a Frazier Clark, a David Adilier, a Huey Fury, maybe a Dave Allen.
Maybe a Dillian White? Maybe a Joe Joyce?
Because he's coming dangerously close to world title contention, and as talented as he is, I don't think he's ready for the smoke up there yet. I don't think so. I don't know here and now that he's ready for the likes of a Joseph Parker.
It was a great knockout. It was a highlight reel knockout, but it's Mike Balogun, for Christ's sake.
This is not the division to be rolling the dice for the sake of rolling the dice. The heavyweight division, historically, has been a cruel mistress to fighters who were a lot more experienced than Moses is now. You got a winner in this kid, but you don't want to push him too hard or too fast.
What Moses has on a lot of guys is he's not one of these oversized heavyweights to where he's slow and cumbersome. He's got speed in those feet and agility.
Quickness and counters, a bit of speed in the heavyweight division can go a long way, and Moses has it.
He's fast.
Even though he lacks the median size of a heavyweight in today's heavyweight division, the kid's strong as an ox. It's hard.
But don't jump off a cliff because he's knocking off guys like Dempsey McKean and Mike Balogun. Consider how good Johnny Fisher was looking up until he ran into Dave Allen. It's not exactly apples to oranges. It was all fun in the sun with Johnny until he ran into Dave.
Like it's all fun in the sun now for Moses Itauma. I'd get him a Michael Kofi. I'd get him a Jerry Forrest.
He knocked this guy out in 2 rounds with little effort, little damage, little wear and tear. So you can get him back out there before the summer ends.
And if he finishes the next guy as abruptly as he finished the last one, then you get him somebody a little bit more serious towards the end of the year. Moses hasn't been chin-checked yet.
He's ticking off on a lot of boxes, but not all of them, to where when I see he's ranked number 1 by the WBO, so close to guys like Joseph Parker and Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk at only 20 years old, I think it's too soon for all of that. Way too soon.
The peril of being a young phenom is you may burn out before somebody else because they're moving you too fast.
Take your time.